The crimson talon moved through space like a giant red knife. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge, his scaled hands pressed against the viewing window. Below them, the human colony world burned with orange fire. Smoke rose from the cities where families had lived just hours before. 50,000 humans eliminated, Admiral, reported his second officer. The reptilian alien's voice carried no emotion. The resource extraction can begin tomorrow. Vexitar nodded slowly. The Dominion Alliance had spoken. 3 mighty species had decided that humans were too weak to hold these outer worlds. The Vorthak with their powerful ships, the Clixar with their endless numbers, and the Ethereals with their energy weapons. Together they ruled this part of the galaxy. Together, they had decided humanity's fate. On the planet's surface, Captain Deho crawled from the wreckage of his defense station. Blood ran down his face from a deep cut. His small ship had been destroyed in the first attack. Around him, the colony's defense force lay scattered and broken. They had fought hard, but it was not enough. Deho pulled himself to the emergency communication system. His hand shook as he tried to make it work. The power was almost gone. He had maybe 1 minute before it died completely. "This is New Sol Colony," he spoke into the device. "If anyone can hear this, Earth, please hear this." His voice cracked with pain and anger. They came without warning. 3 alien species working together. They destroyed everything. The children. They killed the children first. The communication system sparked and went dark. Deho closed his eyes and listened to the sound of alien ships flying overhead. They were hunting for survivors. He would not live to see Earth's response. But his message had traveled across the stars. On Earth, in the deep underground war room beneath Geneva, Fleet Admiral So Jin received the transmission. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. She had fought in 3 different wars and had never lost a battle. Now she sat in silence as Deho's final words played again and again. They killed the children first. Around the table sat Earth's most important military leaders. General officers from every nation stared at the tactical display showing New Sol Colony. The red dots that represented alien ships outnumbered the blue dots of human defenders by 100 to 1. "How many colonies have we lost?" So Jin asked, quietly. 7 in the past week," replied Colonel Jiangsu. "They're moving fast through the outer rim. Each attack is the same. No warning, no negotiation, complete destruction." The door opened and President Kyung-soo entered the room. He was a tall man with kind eyes, but today those eyes burned with cold fury. In his hand was a datapad containing the aliens' message to Earth. "They sent us terms," the president said. His voice was steady but dangerous. "The Dominion Alliance demands our complete surrender. All human colonies must be abandoned. Earth's population will be moved to what they call preservation zones. They consider us a primitive species that needs to be managed." He threw the datapad on the table. "They say we have 72 hours to decide." Fleet Admiral So Jin stood up. "What are your orders, Mr. President?" Kyung-soo looked at the tactical display one more time. The burning colonies, the dead children, the alien ships, that thought humans were nothing more than pests to be cleared away. They wanted to see what humanity is capable of, he said. They're about to find out. He turned to So Jin. "Admiral, I'm giving you complete authority. Use everything we have. Show them what happens when someone kills our children." So Jin nodded. She had been waiting for this moment her entire career. "Gentlemen, it's time to activate Project Thundersoul." The room fell silent. Every person there knew about Thundersoul, but none had expected to ever use it. It was humanity's most secret weapon, a ship so powerful that even Earth's leaders were afraid of it. "Are you sure?" asked General Minwoo. "Once we release Thundersoul, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what we're really capable of." "Good," So Jin replied. "Let them know." She entered her command codes into the secure terminal. Deep in space, near Jupiter's largest moon, machines that had been sleeping for 5 years began to wake up. The Thundersoul had been built in complete secrecy. Only a few hundred people knew it existed. It was 5 kilometers long and carried weapons that could destroy entire fleets. More importantly, it was crewed by humans who had lost everything to alien attacks. They were the best and most dangerous people Earth could find. Captain Minho sat in his command chair as the great ship came alive around him. He was 40 years old with scars on his hands from the Titan Wars. His family had died in one of the first alien attacks. Now he commanded a ship that could make the aliens pay. "Captain, all systems are online," reported Commander Yunbi from the tactical station. She was young but brilliant. Her parents had been scientists on New Sol Colony. She had watched them die on the colony's security cameras. "Engineering reports ready for departure," called Chief Engineer Dong Jin. He had built many of the ship's systems himself. The Thunder Soul was like his child and he knew every bolt and wire. "Weapons systems fully charged," announced Lieutenant Hyorin. At 25, she was the youngest officer on the bridge, but she understood the ship's terrible weapons better than anyone. "Thunderstrike cannons are ready. Reality anchor is standing by." Dr. Wu Sung looked up from his science station. "Captain, I'm reading 50,000 crew members aboard. All departments report ready for combat." Minho stood up and looked at his crew. These were not just soldiers. They were survivors. They were the ones who had lived through alien attacks. They were the ones who had lost everything. Now they had been given the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built. "Open a channel to Earth Command," Minho ordered. Fleet Admiral Sojin's face appeared on the main screen. Behind her, President Kyung-soo watched silently. "Thunder Soul is ready for operations," Minho reported. "We await your orders." Sojin looked at him with sad but determined eyes. "Captain, the Dominion Alliance thinks we're a primitive species. They believe they can destroy our colonies and make demands of Earth. They think we're weak." "Yes, Admiral. Show them how wrong they are. Show them what happens when humans are pushed too far. Make them regret the day they decided to cross us." Minho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Understood, Admiral. Thunder Soul is moving to intercept." The great ship began to move. It was invisible to most sensors, hidden by technology the aliens had never seen. It moved through space like a ghost, like a storm waiting to strike. On the alien command ship, Admiral Vextar studied the reports from the human colonies. The destruction had been complete. Soon, the remaining human settlements would surrender or be destroyed. It was simple mathematics. The Dominion Alliance had 3,000 ships, humans had perhaps a few dozen. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it on the main screen." President Kyung-soo appeared on the display. He looked tired but unafraid. "I am the President of United Earth," Kyung-soo said calmly. "You have attacked our colonies. You have murdered our children. You have demanded our surrender. This is our response." The transmission ended. Vexitar laughed. "Is that supposed to frighten us? Empty words from a dying species." But deep in space, moving through the darkness between worlds, the Thunder Soul was already hunting. The humans were coming, and they were bringing with them a fury the galaxy had never seen. The war was about to begin. The Thunder Soul moved through the dark space near Jupiter like a sleeping giant. For 5 years it had waited in the shadow of the gas giant's moons. Now it was awake, and every system hummed with deadly power. Captain Minho walked through the ship's corridors. The Thunder Soul was huge. It took 20 minutes to walk from one end to the other. 50,000 crew members lived and worked inside its metal walls. They were the best humanity could offer, and they were all angry. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Dong Jin watched his quantum fusion drives warm up. The engines were his design. They could push the massive ship faster than anything the aliens had ever built. More importantly, they were completely silent. The Thunder Soul could move through space without making a sound. "Beautiful, aren't they?" Dong Jin said to his assistant. The man was new to the ship and still amazed by the technology. "I've never seen engines like these," the assistant replied. "How fast can they make us go?" Dong Jin smiled. "Fast enough to catch anything that tries to run away." On the bridge, Commander Yunbi studied intelligence reports about the Dominion Alliance. She had been reading about alien military tactics for 3 years. She knew their weaknesses better than they knew them themselves. The Vorthak were strong, but slow to adapt. They used the same battle formations their ancestors had used for centuries. The Klixar were numerous, but predictable. They attacked in swarms without thinking. The Ethereals were powerful but proud. They believed their energy weapons made them invincible. All 3 species had one thing in common. They had never fought humans before. "Commander," called Lieutenant Hyorin from the weapons station. "I'm running final checks on the Thunderstrike cannons." Yunbi looked over at the young weapons officer. Hyorin had graduated at the top of her class from Earth's Naval Academy. She was brilliant, but more than that, she was creative. She saw ways to use weapons that no one else had thought of. "How do they look?" Yunbi asked. "Perfect," Hyorin replied. "The cannons can fire compressed plasma wrapped in electromagnetic fields. When they hit a target, they create electrical storms inside the enemy ship. Their own metal hulls become their enemy." Dr. Wusong looked up from his science station. He had been a peaceful researcher once, studying alien biology to help humans understand other species. Now he used that knowledge to find ways to hurt them. "I've been analyzing the atmospheric requirements of each Dominion species," he reported. "The Vorthak need high oxygen levels. The Klixar require methane in their air. The Ethereals exist in a plasma state but need specific energy frequencies to remain stable." "What does that mean for us?" Minho asked. "It means I can design weapons that target their biology directly. We can make their own air poisonous to them. We can disrupt the Ethereals' energy matrix. We can turn their greatest strengths into weaknesses." Minho nodded. His crew was not just skilled, they were vengeful. Every person on this ship had lost someone to alien attacks. They had turned their grief into a weapon more dangerous than any bomb. The communication system crackled to life. Fleet Admiral So-Jin appeared on the main screen. "Captain, we've received new intelligence. The Dominion is moving a massive fleet toward Earth. 3,000 ships are gathering at the edge of our solar system." 3,000? Commander Yunbi repeated. "That's their entire battle fleet." "Yes," So-Jin replied. "They're not taking any chances. They want to finish what they started quickly." Minho thought about this. 3,000 ships against 1. The aliens probably thought those were good odds. "What are our orders, Admiral?" "Stop them," So-Jin said simply. "All of them." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet for a moment. 3,000 ships, it seemed impossible. "Captain," Dr. Wusong said quietly, "I'm reading something on long-range sensors. The alien fleet is moving into the asteroid belt. They're using it as cover while they organize their attack." Minho smiled. The aliens had just made their first mistake. "Set course for the asteroid belt," he ordered. "Maximum stealth. I want us invisible until we're ready to strike." The Thunder Soul began to move. Its engines made no sound. Its hull absorbed radar and energy scans. To any alien sensors, it looked like empty space. It was a ghost ship, moving through the darkness toward its prey. In the weapons bay, Lieutenant Hyorin made final preparations. The Thunderstrike cannons were just one of the ship's weapons. There were also quantum torpedoes that could appear inside enemy ships without passing through their shields. There were gravity bombs that could crush metal like paper. There was even the reality anchor, a weapon so dangerous that only Captain Minho had the codes to fire it. "Lieutenant," called one of her technicians, "the manufacturing bays are ready to produce custom ammunition." Hyorin nodded. The Thunder Soul could analyze enemy ships and create special weapons designed just for them. It was like having a weapons factory that could build exactly what you needed for each battle. Chief Engineer Dong Jin checked his systems one more time. The ship was ready for anything. The quantum fusion drives could push them to incredible speeds. The defensive systems could stop almost any attack. The stealth technology made them nearly invisible. But the most important system was the combat AI called Storm. It was not just a computer. It was a learning machine that could adapt to any situation. Storm had been studying alien military tactics for years. Now it was ready to put that knowledge to use. "Storm is online and ready," Dongjin reported to the bridge. "Good," Minho replied. "We're going to need every advantage we can get." Commander Yunbi pulled up tactical displays showing the alien fleet. They were arranged in their traditional formations. The Vorthak ships formed the heavy center. The Clixar swarms protected the flanks. The ethereal vessels floated above and below like energy clouds. "They're following standard Dominion tactics," she observed. "They haven't adapted their strategy for fighting humans." "Why would they?" Dr. Wusung asked. "They think we're primitives. They probably expect us to charge straight at them with whatever ships we have." Minho stood up and looked at his crew. These were not just the best officers Earth could find. They were also the most motivated. Every person on this ship wanted revenge for what had been done to their people. "Let me tell you what we're going to do," he said. "The Dominion Alliance thinks they're hunting sheep. They've brought their entire fleet to deal with what they think is a helpless species." He paused and looked out at the stars. "They're about to learn that they haven't cornered sheep. They've cornered wolves, and wolves know how to hunt." The Thundersoul moved deeper into the asteroid belt. Around them, chunks of rock and metal floated in the darkness. The alien fleet was somewhere ahead, organizing for their final attack on Earth. But they had no idea that death was already moving toward them. Captain Minho sat back in his command chair. Soon the aliens would discover what humans were really capable of. They would learn why crossing humanity had been pure madness. The hunt was about to begin. The asteroid belt was full of floating rocks and metal chunks. Perfect hunting ground. Captain Minho watched his tactical display as the Thundersoul moved silently through the debris field. Somewhere ahead, 12 Dominion scout ships were looking for human defenses. They were about to find them. "Captain," Commander Unbi whispered, even though the aliens could not hear them. "Scout fleet detected. 3 Vorthak heavy cruisers, 5 Clixar attack ships, and 4 ethereal energy vessels." "Perfect," Minho replied. "A little bit of each species. Storm, begin tactical analysis." The ship's AI responded immediately. "Analysis complete, Captain. Vorthak shields are strong but slow to adapt. Clixar ships are fast but lightly armored. Ethereal vessels are energy-based and vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption." Lieutenant Hyorin looked up from her weapons station. Her eyes were bright with anticipation. "Thunderstrike cannons are charged and ready, quantum torpedoes loaded, gravity manipulators online." "Dr. Wusung," Minho called. "What can you tell me about their crews?" The science officer studied his readings. "The Vorthak need high-pressure environments. The Clixar communicate through pheromones. The ethereals are pure energy, but they need specific frequencies to stay stable." "Can you disrupt those frequencies?" "Already working on it, Captain." Minho smiled. His crew was not just skilled, they were creative. They found ways to turn the alien strengths into weaknesses. The lead Vorthak ship was commanded by Captain Zekthos, a veteran warrior who had conquered dozens of worlds. He was studying sensor readings when his officer called out. "Captain, I'm detecting some unusual readings in the asteroid field." "What kind of readings?" Zekthos asked. "Hard to say. The asteroids seem to be interfering with our sensors." Zekthos was not worried. His ships were powerful. His weapons could destroy any human vessel in seconds. What could possibly threaten them in this empty space, he was about to find out. "Fire," Minho ordered quietly. Lieutenant Hyorin pressed the trigger. The Thunderstrike cannons fired their first shot. Compressed plasma wrapped in electromagnetic fields shot across space at incredible speed. The blast hit the lead Vorthak ship like a lightning bolt from the gods, but this was not ordinary lightning. When the energy struck the metal hull, it spread through the entire ship like a disease. Every metal surface became electrified, every system overloaded. Inside the ship, Zekthos watched in horror as his own bridge turned against him. Control panels exploded, lights flashed wildly. The metal floor became deadly to touch. "What is happening?" he screamed. His engineer tried to answer, but sparks flew from his station. "The entire ship is electrically charged. Our own hull is killing us." Another Thunderstrike blast hit a Clixar vessel. The insectoid ship spun out of control as electrical storms raged through its corridors. The crew's own nervous systems were disrupted by the electromagnetic pulse. "Impossible," whispered Captain Zekthus. "What kind of weapon is this?" He was about to learn there were worse things than lightning. "Gravity manipulation," Minho ordered. Chief Engineer Dong Jin activated one of the Thunder Soul's most terrifying weapons. The ship's gravity manipulators reached out and grabbed a large asteroid. With precise control, they hurled the massive rock at relativistic speed toward a group of Klixar ships. The asteroid, now moving faster than anything had a right to move, smashed through 3 ships like they were made of paper. The aliens had never seen anything use gravity as a weapon before. "Multiple contacts destroyed," Commander Yunbi reported. "Remaining ships are trying to retreat." "Don't let them," Minho ordered. "No survivors. No reports." The Thunder Soul moved through the asteroid field like a hunting animal. Its stealth systems kept it invisible while its weapons reached out to destroy alien ships one by one. Every shot was perfectly aimed. Every attack was designed to cause maximum damage. Dr. Wu Sung activated his biological warfare systems. The ethereal ships found their energy frequencies being disrupted by precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses. The beings of pure energy began to lose cohesion and scatter into space. "Help us," transmitted one of the dying ethereals. "We don't understand. How do they fight the very essence of what we are?" There was no answer. The Thunder Soul did not take prisoners. The last Vorthax ship tried to escape by hiding behind a large asteroid. Captain Zekthus hoped that the rock would block the human weapons long enough for him to get away. He was wrong. Lieutenant Hyorin fired a quantum torpedo. The weapon disappeared from normal space and reappeared inside the Vorthax ship, completely bypassing their shields and armor. The explosion tore the vessel apart from within. "All targets destroyed," Commander Yunbi reported. "No survivors." The asteroid field was quiet again. 12 alien ships had become floating debris. The Thunder Soul had not received a single hit. But, more importantly, the aliens had learned something terrifying. They were not fighting a fleet. They were fighting one ship, one impossible, deadly ship that fought like nothing they had ever seen. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Vextar received the final transmission from Captain Zekthus. The message was filled with static and terror. Weapons that command lightning, gravity used as ammunition. "They're not primitive. Not primitive at all." Then silence. Vextar stared at the tactical display. 12 ships gone. No human losses reported. No human ships even detected. "How is this possible?" he asked his officers. "Perhaps their report was wrong," suggested his second-in-command. "Maybe they encountered an asteroid storm or equipment malfunction." Vextar wanted to believe that. But then the surveillance footage arrived. The recording showed the Thunder Soul moving through the debris field like a metallic storm god. 5 kilometers of death, dealing out punishment to anyone who had dared attack human colonies. Weapons that turned lightning into ammunition. Technology that bent space and time. "By the void," Vextar whispered. "What have we awakened?" His communications officer looked up from her station. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from other scout groups. Similar losses throughout the outer system. How many ships have we lost?" 57 confirmed destroyed. 12 missing and presumed dead. Vextar felt cold fear running down his spine. The humans were not supposed to be able to do this. Intelligence reports said they were primitive. Their technology was supposed to be centuries behind Dominion standards. "Send a message to the Klixar and Ethereal commands," he ordered. "Emergency War Council. We may have made a serious mistake." On the Thunder Soul, Captain Minho watched the alien debris floating past his ship. Storm, the AI, was already analyzing the wreckage to learn more about alien technology. "Storm, what did you learn from this encounter?" Minho asked. "Alien tactics are predictable and inflexible," the AI replied. "Their weapons are powerful but crude. Their defenses are strong against conventional attacks but vulnerable to unconventional warfare. Recommendation? Continue psychological pressure while gathering intelligence. Commander Unbi looked at the tactical display. Captain, we're detecting the main alien fleet moving toward Earth. 3,000 ships, just like Admiral Sojin said. How long until they reach Earth? At current speed, 18 hours, Minho nodded. 18 hours to stop the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. 18 hours to show 3 alien species what happened when they decided to cross humanity. Set course for Earth, he ordered. We have an appointment to keep. The Thunder Soul turned toward home. Behind it, alien debris floated in the darkness like a warning to anyone who might follow. The hunt had begun, and humanity was no longer the prey. Lieutenant Hyorin checked her weapon systems. All cannons were recharged and ready. The manufacturing bays were already producing new ammunition based on what they had learned from the first battle. Captain, she reported, we're ready for round 2. Minho smiled grimly. Round 2 was going to be much bigger than round 1. 3,000 alien ships thought they were going to conquer Earth. They were about to learn they were wrong. The Dominion fleet moved through space like a metal cloud. 3,000 ships arranged in perfect formation. Forthak heavy cruisers formed the center. Klixar swarms protected the sides. Ethereal vessels floated above and below like deadly stars. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from this distance. Soon it would burn like all the other human worlds. All ships report ready for attack, his tactical officer announced. Planetary bombardment can begin in 1 hour. Good, Vextar replied. This time we finished the job properly. But something was wrong. His sensor operator looked confused. Admiral, I'm detecting an energy signature near Mars orbit. It's unusual. What kind of signature? I've never seen anything like it. It's as if space itself is angry. Vextar was about to dismiss this as nonsense when his communication system activated. A human voice spoke across all frequencies. This is Captain Minho, of the United Earthship Thunder Soul. You attacked our colonies. You murdered our children. Now you face the consequences. The transmission ended. The Dominion fleet looked around nervously, but their sensors showed only empty space. Where are they? Vextar demanded. Find this, Thunder Soul. His officers worked frantically at their stations, but they found nothing. The human ship was invisible to their technology. They would not stay invisible for long. All systems ready, Commander Yunbi reported from the Thunder Soul's bridge. Storm has analyzed the enemy formation and identified priority targets. Captain Minho looked at his crew, 50,000 humans ready to show the galaxy what happened when Earth's children were threatened. Let's begin with something impressive, he said. Hyorin, fire the reality anchor. Lieutenant Hyorin activated humanity's most terrible weapon. The reality anchor reached out across space and locked onto the fabric of reality itself. In a sphere 10,000 kilometers wide, the laws of physics changed. Faster than light travel became impossible. Communications were blocked. The alien fleet was trapped. What's happening? Admiral Vextar screamed as his ships suddenly lost contact with each other. Why can't we jump to hyperspace? His science officer stared at readings that made no sense. Admiral, something is interfering with spacetime itself. It's as if reality has been frozen. Before Vextar could respond, the Thunder Soul's first attack began. Thunderstrike cannons, full spread, Minho ordered. Lightning filled space. Not ordinary lightning, but controlled plasma storms that sought out metal targets. Hundreds of alien ships found themselves being electrocuted by their own hulls. Inside the vessel's crews were shocked unconscious or killed as their metal environments turned deadly. But this was only the beginning. Chief Engineer Dong Jin activated the quantum entanglement cannons. These weapons ignored shields, armor, and distance. They made explosions appear directly inside enemy ships. Forthak vessels that had survived 1,000 battles were torn apart from within. Impossible, gasped Captain Morgan of the Klixar swarm. Their weapons appear inside our ships. How do they bypass our defenses? He never got an answer. A quantum torpedo materialized in his bridge and ended his questions forever. Dr. Wusung watched his biological warfare systems work perfectly. The atmospheric processors that normally created breathable air for human crews were running in reverse. They were pumping alien-specific toxins into disabled ships. Vorthak warriors who had conquered worlds found themselves choking on air that had become poisonous. Clixer swarms discovered their pheromone communication systems were being jammed by precisely targeted chemical compounds. "They know our biology," transmitted a dying Clixar queen. "They're using our own life processes against us." The ethereal beings fared no better. Their energy forms were being disrupted by electromagnetic pulse weapons designed specifically to scatter their consciousness. Creatures that had existed for millennia were being dispersed into space like smoke. "How do they fight what we are?" asked ethereal Overlord Lumneth before his energy matrix collapsed. The Thunder Soul moved through the battle like a force of nature. Its manufacturing bays produced custom ammunition for each type of enemy ship. Its AI learned from every attack and adapted its weapons in real time. 500 ships destroyed, Commander Unbi reported. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation." But Captain Minho was not finished. The aliens had wanted to see human warfare. They were going to get the full demonstration. "Activate the gravitational manipulators," he ordered. "Show them how we use physics as a weapon." The Thunder Soul reached out with invisible hands and grabbed asteroids, debris, even destroyed alien ships. Then it hurled them at relativistic speeds toward the enemy fleet. Chunks of metal moving faster than light itself smashed through alien formations. A group of Vorthak cruisers tried to take cover behind Mars. They thought the planet would protect them. They were wrong. The Thunder Soul's gravity weapons grabbed the planet's smaller moon and used it as ammunition. The aliens watched in terror as an entire celestial body flew toward them at impossible speed. "They're throwing moons at us," screamed a Vorthak captain before his ship was crushed. Admiral Vextar watched his magnificent fleet being destroyed by a single human ship. Vessels that had taken decades to build were being eliminated in seconds. Technology that had ruled the galaxy was being swept aside like toys. "All ships focus fire on that monster," he ordered. "Everything we have." 3,000 ships turned their weapons toward the Thunder Soul. Energy beams, plasma cannons, and missile swarms filled space with deadly fire, enough firepower to destroy. Entire worlds concentrated on one target. The Thunder Soul's shields absorbed it all. The energy was channeled into the ship's weapons, making them even more powerful. "Thank you for the recharge," Captain Minho said calmly. "Storm, return fire." What happened next would be remembered as the most one-sided battle in galactic history. The Thunder Soul's weapons reached out like the arms of an angry god. Every shot found its target. Every attack was perfectly calculated for maximum destruction. Vorthak ships that had survived for centuries were cut apart by precision beam weapons. Clixar swarms were scattered by gravity bombs that disrupted their formation flying. Ethereal vessels were destroyed by energy weapons that fed on their own power. "They're not just defeating us," whispered Admiral Vextar. "They're hunting us." He was right. The Thunder Soul was not satisfied with victory. It wanted to send a message. Every alien ship that tried to flee was tracked down and destroyed. Every attempt to hide was met with weapons that could see through any concealment. "No survivors," Minho had ordered. "No reports." They wanted to see human warfare. Let them wonder what happened here. Lieutenant Hyo-Rin worked her weapons with artistic precision. Each shot was designed to create maximum fear in the remaining alien crews. Ships were disabled rather than destroyed, then finished off slowly so their final transmissions would spread terror through the Dominion. "Please," transmitted a dying Clixar captain. "We surrender. We didn't know. We didn't know what you were." There was no response. The Thunder Soul did not take prisoners today. Dr. Wusung monitored the biological effects of his weapons. The alien crews were learning that humans had studied their weaknesses for years. Every species had vulnerabilities, and humanity had found them all. 2,000 ships destroyed, Commander Yunbi reported. The remaining vessels are attempting to scatter. "Don't let them," Minho replied. "Today the galaxy learns what happens when you threaten human children." The hunt continued. The Thunder Soul moved through the battle zone like a predator finishing wounded prey. Its sensors could track ships across vast distances. Its weapons could reach targets anywhere in the solar system. Admiral Vextar's flagship was among the last survivors. He watched his fleet being systematically eliminated by weapons he could not understand, technology that seemed to violate the laws of physics. How? He asked the empty space around him. How did they become so powerful? His answer came in the form of a quantum torpedo that appeared inside his bridge. As the explosion consumed him, Vextar finally understood. Humans had not become powerful overnight. They had always been dangerous. They had just been sleeping. Now they were awake. 6 hours after the battle began, it was over. 3,000 alien ships had become debris floating around Mars. The mighty Dominion fleet that was supposed to conquer Earth had been completely destroyed. The Thunder Soul floated alone in the wreckage, its weapons finally silent. Captain Minho looked at the tactical display showing nothing but scattered metal where the enemy fleet had been. All targets eliminated, Commander Yunbi reported. No survivors detected. Minho nodded. The aliens had wanted to judge whether humanity deserved a place among the stars. Today they had received their answer. The news traveled through Dominion space faster than light itself. 3,000 ships gone, the entire invasion fleet destroyed, not by another fleet, but by a single human vessel that fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. On the Vorthak, homeworld, Admiral Vextar's replacement stared at the final battle recordings. High Admiral Torgash had commanded fleets for 50 years. He had conquered 17 star systems. He had never seen anything like this. "Play it again," he ordered, his intelligence officer. The recording showed the Thunder Soul moving through the debris of the Dominion fleet. Lightning danced around its hull. Gravity bent to its will. Space itself seemed to obey its commands. "How is this possible?" Torgash asked. "Our intelligence said humans were primitive. Their technology was supposed to be centuries behind ours." His chief scientist Dr. Velkaran looked up from her analysis. "Admiral, I've been studying all available data about humanity. I believe we made a serious error in our assessment." "What kind of error?" Dr. Velkaran activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. "We assumed they were primitive because they had not expanded far into space. We thought this meant they lacked advanced technology." The display showed human cities, human factories, human research centers. We were wrong. They were not expanding because they were preparing. For decades, they have been building weapons and studying warfare. Earth is not a primitive world. It's a fortress that has been getting ready for galactic conflict. Torgash felt cold fear in his stomach. "Are you saying they expected us to attack?" "I'm saying they hoped someone would be foolish enough to give them an excuse to show what they could do." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on the Clixar homeworld. Queen Zixandra studied the intelligence reports with growing horror. The insectoid leader had ruled her species for 2 centuries. She had seen many wars. But this was different. "Show me the human colony records," she commanded her advisors. The data appeared on her screens. What the Clixar had thought were simple farming communities were actually advanced military bases. The primitive humans had been using their outer colonies to test weapons and train soldiers. "The children we killed," Queen Zixandra whispered. "They were not just colonists. They were military families. We attacked the cubs of a predator species." Her military advisor, General Kretesh, nodded grimly. "Your Majesty, I've been analyzing human military history. Their own planet's records show thousands of years of constant warfare. They have turned killing into an art form." "What do you mean?" "They fight wars against each other for practice. Every human nation has studied every possible form of combat. They have weapons designed to kill in ways we never imagined." The Queen felt her compound eyes darting nervously. "And now they're coming for us." Meanwhile, in the energy clouds where the ethereals lived, panic was spreading through their consciousness network. The beings of pure energy had existed for millions of years. They had thought themselves superior to all physical life forms. Overlord Nimither gathered the remaining ethereal commanders. Their conversation happened at light speed through shared thoughts. "The humans have weapons that can disrupt our energy matrix. Nimither communicated. They understand our nature better than species who have studied us for millennia. How is this possible? Asked Sub-Commander Lyranth. We are beings of pure energy. Physical species should not be able to harm us. They are not just a physical species, Nimither replied. Analysis of their technology shows they have mastered both matter and energy. They can fight us on every level of existence. The ethereals shared a collective shiver of fear. For the first time in their long existence, they faced extinction. On the Thunder Soul, Captain Minho received reports from Earth's intelligence networks. The alien species were finally beginning to understand what they had awakened. Captain, Dr. Wu Sung reported from his science station. We're intercepting communications from all 3 Dominion species. They're calling emergency meetings. Some are talking about surrender. Too late for that, Commander Yunbi said coldly. They killed our children. They celebrated their deaths. Now they pay the price. Minho nodded. He felt no sympathy for the aliens who had started this war. But he was curious about their response to humanity's demonstration of power. Storm, he called to the ship's AI. What are you reading from Dominion space? Massive fleet movements, Captain, the AI replied. However, they are not moving toward Earth. All 3 species are pulling their forces back to defend their home systems. They're afraid, Lieutenant Hyorin observed with satisfaction. They finally understand what humans are capable of. But Captain Minho was not finished with his demonstration. The galaxy needed to learn a complete lesson about the consequences of attacking humanity. Set course for the edge of Dominion space, he ordered. It's time for Phase 2. Chief Engineer Dongjin looked confused. Phase 2, Captain? Minho smiled grimly. The aliens have seen what happens when they attack us. Now they need to see what happens when we attack them. The Thunder Soul left Earth's solar system and jumped to hyperspace. Its destination was the outer edge of Vorthak territory, where Admiral Torgash had gathered his remaining fleets. The Vorthak had built massive defensive platforms around their border worlds. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets, shields that could stop any attack. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. The Thunder Soul appeared in the middle of the Vorthak defensive line like a ghost materializing from a nightmare. Before the aliens could react, it began what humanity called the education. Atmospheric processors, reverse mode, Dr. Wu Sung announced, targeting the planet's oxygen supply. The Vorthak watched in horror as their homeworld's atmosphere began to change. The air that had sustained their species for millions of years was becoming poison. Cities that had stood for centuries were choking in toxic clouds. Please, transmitted Admiral Torgash. We surrender. We didn't know what you were capable of. Captain, Minho's response was broadcast on all frequencies. You should have thought of that before you murdered children. The Thunder Soul moved to the next system. Here, the Klixar had built their greatest hive city on an asteroid. Millions of the insect-like beings lived in the massive structure. Lieutenant Hyorin activated the nanite dispensers. Tiny self-replicating machines spread through the hive like a technological plague. They did not kill the Klixar, but they made life impossible. The nanites consumed metal, disrupted electronics, and made the hive uninhabitable. Evacuation in progress, reported the Klixar Queen. We understand. We will leave this system. Please show mercy to our children. But the Thunder Soul was already moving to ethereal space. Here the beings of pure energy had gathered in a massive stellar formation, hoping their combined power would protect them. Dr. Wu Sung activated the electromagnetic pulse generators. Waves of precisely tuned energy swept through the ethereal, gathering, disrupting their consciousness matrix. The ancient beings found themselves scattered across space like glowing dust. We submit, transmitted the dying overlord Nimither. Humanity has proven superior. We accept whatever terms you offer. Word of the Thunder Soul's campaign spread throughout the galaxy. In 3 days, the human ship had crippled all 3 Dominion species. Worlds that had ruled space for centuries were now begging for mercy. But the most terrifying part was not the destruction. It was the precision. The Thunder Soul had not destroyed the alien species. It had simply made them understand their new place in the galaxy. On Earth, President Kyung-soo received surrender offers from dozens of alien worlds. Species that had never heard of humanity were asking to become protectorates of Earth. "They're afraid," Fleet Admiral So-jin observed. "Word has spread that humans are not just advanced. We're dangerous in ways the galaxy has never seen." "Good," the president replied. "Fear will keep them from making the same mistake again." Captain Min-ho stood on the bridge of the Thunder Soul, watching alien refugee ships fleeing from human space. The war that had started with the murder of colonists was ending with the complete submission of 3 galactic powers. "Captain," Commander Yunbi reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command." President Kyung-soo appeared on the main screen. "Captain Min-ho, you and your crew have exceeded all expectations. The galaxy now knows what happens when humanity is provoked. What are our orders now, Mr. President?" "Return home. You've proven your point. The Thunder Soul has shown the galaxy that Earth is not defenseless, but now we must show them that we can be merciful to those who submit." Min-ho nodded. The demonstration was complete. The aliens had learned their lesson. As the Thunder Soul turned toward Earth, Captain Min-ho reflected on what they had accomplished. They had not just won a war. They had announced humanity's arrival as a galactic power. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. 3 months had passed since the destruction of New Sol Colony. The memorial gardens on the planet's surface were quiet now, filled with flowers from Earth and strange alien plants that the survivors had never seen before. These were gifts from species across the galaxy, all trying to show that they meant no harm to humanity. President Kyung-soo walked slowly through the memorial paths. Each flower represented a life lost in the first alien attack. 50,000 flowers for 50,000 people who had died simply because they were human. Behind him walked a group of alien representatives. They had come from across the galaxy to attend the memorial service. More importantly, they had come to formally surrender to Earth's growing power. The delegation was led by what remained of the Dominion Alliance leadership. High Admiral Torgash of the Vorthak walked carefully on legs that still shook with fear. Queen Zixandra of the Clixar kept her compound eyes focused on the ground. Overlord Nemether of the Ethereals flickered weakly, his energy form barely maintaining cohesion. "Mr. President," Admiral Torgash said quietly, "we have come to formally request membership in what you call the Protective Accord." President Kyung-soo stopped walking and turned to face the aliens. These were the same beings who had celebrated the deaths of human children just months ago. Now they were begging for human protection. "You want our protection?" the president said. 3 months ago you wanted our extinction. What changed your minds?" Queen Zixandra spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Thunder Soul changed our minds, Mr. President. We thought we were apex predators. We learned we were wrong." "You learned you were prey," Kyung-soo corrected. "The question is, what are you willing to do to earn our mercy?" The aliens had prepared for this question. For 3 months they had been dismantling their military forces and converting their weapons factories into civilian production centers. They had released all alien species they had conquered over the centuries. They had paid reparations to every world they had ever attacked. But most importantly, they had acknowledged humanity as the dominant species in this part of the galaxy. "We accept all terms," Overlord Nemether flickered. "Human law will be our law. Human protection will be our shield. We ask only that our species be allowed to survive under Earth's guidance." President Kyung-soo nodded slowly. This was exactly what Earth's leaders had hoped for. Not the destruction of alien species, but their complete submission to human authority. "Very well," he said. "You will be the first members of humanity's protective accord. But understand this. If any of your people ever threaten humans again, the Thunder Soul will return. And next time, we will not be so merciful." High above the planet, the Thunder Soul hung in orbit like a metal moon. Captain Min-ho watched the memorial service through his ship's sensors. His crew had gathered on the bridge to observe the moment, when their enemies became their subjects. "It's strange," Commander Yunbi observed. 3 months ago, we were preparing to die defending Earth. Now we're watching alien species beg for our protection. Lieutenant Hyorin looked up from her weapons station. Do you think they mean it, or are they just afraid? They're afraid, Chief Engineer Dongjin answered. But that's good. Fear will keep them honest. Dr. Wu Sung was studying long-range sensor readings. Captain, I'm detecting incoming ships from the outer rim. More alien species requesting meetings with Earth's government. Minho was not surprised. Word of the Thunder Soul's capabilities had spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had never heard of humans 6 months ago were now sending ambassadors to Earth. How many? He asked. 47 different species so far, Dr. Wu Sung replied. Some are asking for protection from their neighbors. Others are offering technology in exchange for non-aggression pacts. A few are requesting permission to study human military techniques. Human military techniques, Commander Yunbi repeated with amusement. 6 months ago they thought we were primitives. Now they want to learn from us. Captain Minho smiled. The galaxy had learned that underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. But they had also learned that humans could be reasonable allies for species that showed proper respect. On Earth, Fleet Admiral So Jin was overseeing the construction of humanity's new space fleet. Based on the Thunder Soul design, 50 new battleships were being built in orbital shipyards. Each one was smaller than the Thunder Soul but still more powerful than anything the aliens had ever built. Admiral, reported Captain Soo-hyun, the project manager. The first squadron will be ready for deployment in 6 months. What should we call the new ship class? So Jin thought about it. The Thunder Soul had been named for its ability to strike, like lightning from the storm of human anger. The new ships needed names that would remind the galaxy of humanity's power. Call them the Storm class, she decided. Let everyone remember what happens when humans are provoked. The new ships would carry smaller crews than the Thunder Soul, but they would be equipped with the same advanced weapons. More importantly, they would be crewed by veterans of the recent war. People who had seen alien cruelty and would never forget it. Captain Minho received orders to return to Earth for the formal signing of the Protective Accord. As the Thunder Soul descended toward Earth's atmosphere, he thought about how much had changed. The ship that had been built as an instrument of revenge had become a symbol of human dominance. The crew that had been driven by grief and anger had become the founders of a new galactic order. Captain, Dr. Wu Sung called from his station. I'm receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. President Kyung-soo appeared on the main screen. Behind him stood representatives from dozens of alien species, all waiting to sign agreements with humanity. Captain Min-ho, the president, said, "Thanks to you and your crew, Earth is no longer just another world in the galaxy. We have become the center of a new alliance. Species across known space are requesting our protection and guidance. What are your orders, Mr. President?" "Your orders are to continue doing what you do best. The Thunder Soul will remain as Earth's ultimate deterrent. Any species that thinks about threatening humans will remember what happened to the Dominion. Alliance." Minho nodded. The Thunder Soul would continue to patrol the galaxy, reminding everyone of humanity's power, but he hoped they would never need to use that power again. The signing ceremony took place in the rebuilt capital of New Seoul Colony. As President Kyung-soo put his signature on the Protective Accord, representatives from 49 alien species added their own marks to the document. The agreement was simple. Earth would protect member species from external threats. In return, those species would accept human leadership and follow human law. They would share their technology and resources with Earth. Most importantly, they would never again threaten human civilians. This document establishes a new era, President Kyung-soo announced to the gathered aliens. An era where might does not make right, but where justice is enforced by those with the power to protect the innocent. He paused and looked at the alien. "Representatives, you have seen what happens when humans are pushed too far. You have witnessed the Thunder Soul in action. Remember this lesson. Spread it throughout the galaxy. Tell everyone you meet that humanity does not seek conquest, but we will not tolerate aggression." The ceremony ended with a moment of silence for those who had died in the colony attacks. 50,000 humans who had paid the ultimate price to teach the galaxy about human resolve. As the alien representatives departed, many of them carried recordings of the Thunder Soul in action. These would be shown on worlds across the galaxy as educational material. Young aliens would grow up knowing that humans were not to be trifled with. Captain Minho stood in the memorial gardens as night fell. Commander Yunbi joined him, along with the rest of his senior staff. They had come to pay their respects to the people whose deaths had started this war. "Do you think it's over?" Lieutenant Hyorin asked quietly. "For now," Minho replied. "But there will always be someone who thinks they can challenge humanity. That's why the Thunder Soul exists, to remind them they're wrong." Dr. Wusung looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien species were telling their children stories about the human warship that commanded lightning and bent space to its will. Those stories would become legends. The legends would keep the peace. "The galaxy is a safer place now," he observed. "Not because we destroyed our enemies, but because we taught them to respect us." Chief Engineer Dong Jin smiled. "And if they forget that lesson, we'll be ready to teach it again." The Thunder Soul lifted off from New Sol Colony and headed back into deep space. Its mission was no longer revenge. Now it was guardian of the new order that humanity had created. As Captain Minho settled into his command chair, he thought about the future. Earth had become the center of galactic civilization. Humans were no longer an unknown species on the edge of space. They were the power that other species looked to for protection and guidance. "Course plotted for Patrol Sector 7, Commander Yunbi reported. "All systems nominal. Take us out," Minho ordered. The Thunder Soul disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with it the promise of human protection for those who deserved it, and the threat of human vengeance for those who chose aggression. The war was over, but the legend had just begun.